is foul and foul is fair. Hover through the fog and filthy
I see so many people talking about saving the prostitutes, but I wonder, what about everyone else? Take farmers, for example. In my area, farmers make about $10,000 on a good year, which is less than what one receives on social assistance. If it's a bad year, then they have the right to rack up more debt. With the onslaught of free trade, globalization, and greedy multinational corporations running the show, these farmers have a whole bunch of things to look forward to, such as being in perpetual debt, losing farms that have been in their families for generations, or being sued by companies such as Monsanto for simply having windblown seeds in their fields. And this is in a developed, wealthy nation. Compliments of these multinational corporations, thousands of farmers in India have committed suicide, and indigenous peasant farmers have taken up arms in Mexico. All over the world, there are people living in squalor. Where are all the videos of outrage for these people? Yes, there are sex slaves, and yes, there are people who are financially coerced into the sex industry. I think that many of us can agree that one of the main reasons why people get into sex work is out of necessity. It is the same system that has made life miserable for so many people that is responsible for this. I see so many people talking about the trafficking of prostitutes, but what about the others who are trafficked for other industries? Does the so-called Swedish solution address those people? Of course not. The bottom line is that not help oppressed migrants, but to give the illusion of caring. If a country somehow benefits from these workers, then keep on shipping them in. But we can't have our country sullied by the likes of sex workers. Developed countries have a responsibility to help developing countries as we benefit from their despair. A despair that leads to mass suicide. A despair that leads to armed resistance. A despair that would push a parent to sell their child into slavery. If someone is truly radical, they would dig down to the root cause of this despair. But it is so much easier to attack the sex industry, which is often the most viable option for people in the industry, including those in developing countries. I want to read an article talking about sex workers from Asia, much of it in their own words. This article that I'm reading, or the snippet of this article that I'm reading, is by Sasha of Love Bites, and her column is found in iMagazine, the Toronto iMagazine, and this article is from February 2nd, 2006. So yes, every country, including ours, has disinclined sex trade workers, along with a host of other haplessly employed. That would be in Canada. But this is not the whole story. You may be surprised to know that there is an organization of prostitutes in India called the DMSC, and one of their objectives is to get Americans to stop sending them money to buy sewing machines. Believe it or not, these people would rather be independent sex workers than labor in filthy, ill-paying factories sewing clothes for Kathy Lee Gifford. And there are 60,000 of them. That would be 60,000. This same organization publicly criticized the award-winning documentary Born into Brothels. Members of the DMSC were not aware that their children were being filmed, and many found that the representation of mothers keen to usher their children into the business is sensationalistic. As the Thai organization Empower, this is a sex worker organization from Thailand, collectively writes in an article for the prison issue of the sex worker magazine Constellation, quote, "We are seen as empty pages that the anti-prostitution lobbyists and other misled bleeding hearts can write upon. They do not respect us as adult women with full histories, lives, skills, plans, and dreams of our own. They think we are stupid, ignorant, and pity us and judge us as powerless. We are not recognized as working women and the family providers who support 5 to 8 other adults. The way we migrant sex workers are perceived and treated as victims of trafficking reflects the attitudes towards our work," quote. It's the same story everywhere. Anti-prostitution activists refuse to believe that anyone would want to do sex work, and their well-sustained position and tactics often present bigger problems for the workers themselves. From the same article by Empower, quote, "They force us to learn whether we want to or not, never stopping to consider whether we already have the skills they are so anxious to thrust upon us or not. For example, most of us can already sew, weave, and cook. In the past, the Thai government gave funding to Thai sex workers to start small businesses after we had been retrained. After 3 to 6 months, these businesses failed. The government learned what we already knew. The economy is flooded with such small businesses. Quote, exit programs in North America present similarly hollow options by way of government-funded month-long computer courses offered in exchange for core time. The message is crystal clear. Anything is better than being a hooker. If you're interested in reading the whole article and checking out Empower and the DMSC, I will be putting the links in the down bar. Anyways, thanks for watching. Slancha.